Few questions from our end, like what were some of the biggest data management challenges you faced just before you got Datazip?
So as a growing startup, I think obviously data is like the backbone. Like you cannot make any decisions without it. And we were using Redshift as a data warehouse, but because we're a small team and early stage startup, we didn't have the bandwidth for somebody to go and debug Redshift, and it basically was taking a lot of bandwidth. We were not able to focus on a core product. So yeah, that was I think essentially the biggest challenge. How do we see the data without wasting our lead developers' time? So that's why we were looking at tools, and while I found Datazip that could solve it end to end.
Thanks. What was the inflection point which led to for you to believe, okay, we need something better now?
So when we started, so how the journey goes it, ki initially you don't go for data warehouse because your number of rows are too little, right? When you're a small startup. So how we do is you download all the data, put it in Excel, and you have those Google Sheets, work beautifully. But after like say a few thousand rows, that stops. So then we went for basically Redshift. It was while in the early 2 months, and we were doing Data Studio on the top of it. Again, that is also not under control, but it's free, right? So we wanted to just cut our costs a bit. So we just were using that. But I think what the time is we have a morning startup meetings, and every time what was happening, the first 10 minutes of meeting was a report. How do you fix the report, right? And I was like, this is like, if you multiply 10 minutes every day by everybody's most valuable time, that is a very, very valuable time for the company as a whole. And when that happened for a week straight, that 15 minutes, you could not see the report, we thought, we need something better. And I'm pretty sure somebody would have built something better. We should have a look at it. So that was essentially the experiment, like wasting a lot of people's valuable time, which we wanted to get back. So that was there. And obviously, the productivity benefits are also there. We not only save time, we could now basically do analysis. The analysis that took 3 hours now takes less than half an hour, right? Because just for the query load time and all that. So that helps them make decisions quicker, roll out products quicker, and all that stuff.
Can you provide any specific example of like how data have helped you and your, let's say, Medbikri in better use of data, maybe more collaboration? How specifically, or what is very specific about you?
So see, like we have a few levels of data. The first is like every team has their own dashboards, which they look in their morning stand-ups or weekly sync-ups. And then we have some deep dive data that we want to look at. So earlier in the first 15 minutes of the meeting, which was supposed to be actually half an hour meeting, 10-15 minutes is taken kiska sheet load hua, whose data studio is loaded, who can see the data, like that. So sometimes we have to resort to a person wakes up like 15-20 minutes early before the meeting, and then we have to load the data, which is a waste of time. But after data sets, since we're using that takes like 5 seconds. So as the meeting started, in the 5 seconds, we have the data in front of us. So we can go right into it. So that was what it wanted, that at least a 3 to 5x boost in performance. So this is on the dashboard side, so we can more conversation the same 30 minutes. Instead of doing 15 minutes on the data and 15 minutes of talks, we can actually do 30 minutes of conversations. So we end up discussing more, doing more. So that is one. And in terms of the ad hoc queries, whenever we have a project here, we ये कैसे करना है, like what does this number look like? Earlier we were like यार उसको निकालते ही बहुत time लग जाएगा. But now we know that can be done in a reasonable time, under 1 hour, under 2 hours, so on. So that basically helps us. So and we use data a lot. So we have sales teams, we have products, so we have features which we want to optimize. Kuch reports were pending since like 1 or 2 months. We didn't see the feature. We say so overall data, we didn't deep dive into specific codes and all that, but that was not possible with that because now we could look at data, make decisions, and then obviously reshape it. So with the insights much critical.
Got it. And how did basically Datazip came in with your existing technology stack? Was it you had to change everything up, or was it an easy onboarding? How did that go?
Yeah, so just to give an idea, we use a React native application with Node.js backup and React frontend. We have a website and Go. And apart from the same Facebook and all that, and then we use for analytics, we use Mixpanel for it, and basically on Node.js we use Postgres. Okay, I think we initially when we went for Redshift, we used a tool to put the data, and then when we had to go to ClickHouse, initially I thought that I never heard of ClickHouse. Honestly, till before that I was like, yeah, what would I do the work and all that. But apparently I think the tool was very seamless. We didn't have to change anything. In fact, like we were using Segment before that to put the data in the warehouse, and we actually didn't find any use case for Segment. So we actually stopped Segment. Actually, yeah. So that actually happened. So initially it was like we sent it on Mixpanel and the data warehouse. because that was a good move. But then we just stopped segment because there was no need now. Just send data to Mixpanel, and from Mixpanel you can Datazip can pick it up. So our use case was now we 100% solved. And just to give you some context here, why a data warehouse, I think for some viewers, that's basically once you have to see connect data, for example, if the complex के app में ये हुआ, and due to that feature, what impacted on your sales, customer support, something like that. Now this is three different systems. Right? You have the application, you have a DB will match it, and then you have customer support, which will be something like a chat feature. You have an Excel there. Now to stitch this all up, you basically have to do like 10 VLOOKUPs like this, and that will take some time. But in a data warehouse, you just write one line of query, 5 lines probably, and then you get the data.
And that is what Datazip basically kind of unlocked.
Exactly. It saves a lot of time. You can do it, and not just saves time. It's like unlocks a lot of things. For example, if you want to do this, most times it will take 1 day. I'm like, "Nahi, I'm better to do things in 1 day." But now it will take 1 hour, and then it's just do.
Got it.
That is
Got it. And what were the most important features for you specifically, which you found in Datazip, which made a, let's say, impact for you? Like you must have seen a lot of other tools.
yeah.
So what was the key decision-making features which came for you, made impact for you?
Yes. So first thing was the thing with these things is that they either give a backend or a front end, and then you have to figure out the other part yourself. So if you go for front end, then you have to figure out the backend, warehouse yourself. You go for a warehouse, you have to figure out data to do yourself. So one first thing was that they provided both of them in one place and at one price basically. So because you got the backend and front end both at one place, this was an advantage. So that was a clear key. I don't have to worry about what front end to use, back end to use. Both of them are same. That was the first key. And second, as I said, key because the ClickHouse is so stable and managed by your team itself, by the tool, so we didn't have to put any bandwidth in that case. Your team does that heavy testing for. So that was one thing that I don't want my team to be spending time on, just debugging the wide data flow and all that. That is done better. My team should be focusing on analytics of the product. That is very important. So I think these two are, we can say, the main key features. Other than that, obviously, I think there's some smaller things. For example, the UX is smooth, the sharing is good for reports. Everybody can just download it, it's fast. These are there, but core, I think, would be these two things.
So the core would be the end-to-end nature of it. Like
Yes.
you literally got the whole back-end and the front-end nature of the data pipeline.
Correct. And my team didn't have to focus on the problem of is the data
Stitching both.
Yeah.
Okay. And how was the implementation process for you? Like, was it easy enough? What do you face any challenges initially?
Yeah, so I think we were kind of a special case because that we didn't, make our the data stream very good to begin with. So I think you can tell you that we had 4,000 columns in our mix panel, which was kind of a challenge to put in. So I think because we had this unique set of things which we had to solve but not able to solve, and then it just got worse and worse with time. So it took some time, but I think your team was very helpful with us. So not only was the product there, the team was also, whenever they got a problem, we could reach out the team who helped us. Okay, we just ship this feature, and the pace of shipping features were very, very fast. So whenever we said this is missing, we should have this, and then probably in a week or so you guys ship that, right? So that was, I think, support which we got to onboard and use it was very fast. It did ended up taking 1 to 2 weeks, but I think that's fair if you're moving like a system like us. So we're not even building from scratch. So if you're going from scratch, there will be seamless. But we're already looking at probably 50, I think 27, 30 with dashboards were already there, which we're looking at to ship all of them plus the data. 2 weeks is fair time.
Got it. And how's collaboration been after Datazip? Has it improved? Has it gone down? I remember us having a conversation. You have a big sales team.
Exactly. So I think one really mobile friendly, and a lot of teams, because our teams are distributed all across India, and they were we send them a data link. They were it's open nahi hoga. So I remember we have a thread. Sir, report is not opening. Please help. Report is not opening. Now I don't see those. Basically, report is not opening. Now basically then that is it, because now that is stopped. Then we can now focus. Okay, report to khul gayi. Now what to really do with the report? So I think that is a collaboration. That is why improved, because now the managers know that it's not possible report it will not open. It's basically you are not doing the work, right? So now I show earlier the managers in 2 minds, was it the report or was it? So I think with a lot of these tools, it's also about trust. It's not about the actual performance. So even the tool is working fine, if you don't trust it's working fine, it will not slow down to everybody in the organization. So with the data set, I think from day one, because it takes so little time, the trust was there. So that is why I think we did improve collaboration, because now we know that it will work regardless of any situation, even like a 4G internet. We know it will load. So now I think the decision making. So even like some people are sensation on the field, right? And sometimes they have to see data on the field. So that has been made possible.
Amazing. And so I imagine like where Medbikri being somewhere intersection of health tech and e-commerce and other players, you must have, let's say, lots of regulatory and compliances which may hold you down as well.
Correct.
So, and especially from the data side of things, how has Datazip been helpful over there?
I think it's mostly like, for example, with regulatory challenges, we cannot openly share data with other third party. There's a lot of limitations on those fronts. And the thing was that like with ClickHouse, so even though Datazip was access, it rests on our own servers, right? So that is a big plus, that we basically it gets on-prem. The nature of ClickHouse makes it on-prem. It's not like I give access to Datazip. So I can choose to mask the data, which is not required for you. Because for example, let's be honest, nobody does analytics on phone numbers, right? So that is not even needed. So you just need an ID or a hash, and that is how it works. I think though you guys have all those features to cover it, and we can choose which things to send, which things not to send. And because it is on-prem, I think we can make those decisions that, but for example, sensitive data, we will not be very comfortable sending it across, and we can make those changes. You don't need to send.
Got it. One last question. Any advice for like people who are looking for, let's say, unified stack or maybe a newer stack? Why should they pick a unified data stack?
See, unified is like if you're going to, see how, as I said, it started when it was this, earlier you just use an Excel or a Google dashboard where you download all the data, put it in, the dashboard does it for you. After a few thousand nodes, that will start breaking. And then you're going to have the inflection that should have put a data warehouse. Now the backend technology is still, you can say, it's more about the front end and what a culture of data in your company. So you will going to need both components. For example, if you have a data warehouse, what is going to query it out, right? Like for example, not everybody in the team does a query, but everybody in the team can load a link and see that and report numbers on that, right? And it's also about the manager. For example, you can make all the dashboards in the world. If the managers are not drilling it to their reports and all that, the data is not going to be. So I think first of all, I think the most important to set a culture of data in your company, and that has to come from the very top. So the founders have to be asking numbers and the leads and how it works. So that is more important rather than splitting on the data, because once you have culture of data, people will start asking for data, and then you'll get all the benefits. So I think that would be my first step before you get into all those tools. I think that you actually have a culture.
Valid enough.
Correct. And then secondly, I think as I said, you need a front end and back end both. There's no going about it, and that is the problem. All the tools that there's nothing end to end. You take a warehouse, you take an ATM, but then you need a front end, then you took another tool. So it's like either you like this, some should acquire these two tools and send a package, or you can use something like a Datazip, which provides one-click core tools and don't need to do deployment. Because even if you go over two separate tools, the deployment is separate. You first data warehouse on your platform, meet it on our platform, then connect it to there, and sometimes the APIs don't talk to each other. There is again a whole bunch of stuff to be done. And yeah, the data is because it's the same platform, it's all connected.
Got it.
One thing I need to do.
Yeah. And one more question, just from the numbers perspective. If you can, just give me a brief idea on how much time were your team spending before Datazip on infrastructure and after Datazip?
I think my team was just before the few days we got Datazip. I think my team was spending between 1 to 2 hours on just on the infrastructure part of it, and that is the developer team daily. Because Redshift used to go down for run, we have 4,000. Right? So we had a lot of data going out. So daily used to be, and then in the morning calls, we get we have a 10:30 stand up, and we used to say, okay, we need the data, and they were like, it is not available. So we have to abandon this stand up. So that also used to happen. So daily 1-2 hours was being taken. That's why we thought that this is not how it's going to scale up. Now I think it's rarely ever. We just have a look at the instance. If all is running, and that is because we do a checking of AWS and everything is fine. That is how we check. Rest we know that the data zip team is there. If anything goes bad, we can always raise it. And now because of the data problem, the analytics team can go. The tech team doesn't need to focus on that. So that's one thing out of the plate. They can ship more in the product, more for the customers, and which is kind of ideal.
Yeah. Also for the context, so that other folks can also know, how big is your analytics team? How big is your data tech team maybe? And engineering and all?
Tech team is just for basically full time. We have four members, and then we have an army of interns. But I think our interns, especially, so for a few of them, interns will give ESOPs as well, so because they've been with us for the very start. So we have an army of good interns that will be with us for a year or so. So because again it's like a 7-8 member team, so it's small. On analytics we have 2 people, but it's like because once you make the dashboard, the numbers don't really change that much. It's basically just set a dashboard and you can do it. So we have 2 analysts, and then basically a lot of the business leaders, the expectation you should write your SQLs. That is the culture.
So from the start you have made that culture.
Exactly. That at least person who's some level of a manager, he should be writing his own SQL.
Got it.
Because see the thing is that you can hire analysts, but I think now basically like see with ChatGPT, the should have just say that everybody should know Python or something. I'm like, okay, let's not go there. But he should be able to write his own SQL so that he's not reliant on an analyst for his reports. He can just go there, play with the data, get his own reports, and be done. Now and my job is to give him the infrastructure to do that. So for example, I don't want him to use those old tools like a SQL warehouse, download it, figure out which. I think SQL warehouse is that problem that you have to figure out a driver to connect it, and that is
maybe what should be the where clause.
Exactly, who can get to figure it out and all that. And even in Datazip, there's some basically autocomplete as well, which also helps and all that. So that is what we said, and that makes it easier for everybody. So I think that's why we don't have a very large analytics team to begin with, because most of the people we had, they know SQL. But in Vision, we basically hiring.
Got it. Amazing. Towards then, anything you want to say about Medbikri?
Please. I think other way just keep on supporting us. We're on LinkedIn. So whenever you have time, just have a chat with me. I'll explain you what we do. But in general, we are basically solving the problems of tier 2 and people in tier 2, tier 3, where the healthcare is not there. Doctors, there's a shortage. So our idea is we're partnering with pharmacies and using them as a conduit. We're basically helping them with cheaper surgeries, consultations, etc. We provide a teleconsultation at rupees 150, which is one of the lowest price in India ever. People who should done surgery, not even corrected, the price was less. So we basically on average have saved 25% of the quotations that they get in medical bills. So, and that is all because they trust the pharmacy, and that's how and pharmacy trusts you. So that's how the trust has been built. So if your parent, somebody is struggling with, so there's no need to panic, I would say. That you can just find we're not in pan-India yet, we are in a few states in North India. So if you find, just go to a nearby pharmacy, ask him for Medbikri, he'll refer you, or you can go to the website, and somebody from our team will actually help you put it up. Our counseling is actually free, where you can just will help you. That sometimes it's a problem, like for example 40 crore Indians are actually insured by PMJ, the Indian government, but people don't know about it, that I'm insured. So we've actually enabled that as well. So we have a few patients who come to us and figure out that you're actually insured, and then we got them insurance for them, and they got the surgery for free. Like that. So we just help you figure out what are the best surgical.
Amazing. That's a noble cause.
Yep. Very attached to it. Yep.
Yeah, that's a noble cause.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.